So as you're experiencing her now, regardless of how she is now, the unconscious part of your brain is referring to your childhood memories, whichever ones happen to be there, whether the old ones or the new ones. Welcome to Life Support with Odille for changing negative childhood memories using the Remmert Method. And we've created this forum for those who've watched our YouTube videos or read our book and need personal help using the techniques to get changes, but aren't in a position to do one-to-one sessions. So if you're new to the Remmert Method, be sure to check the description of this post for all the details. And if you'd like to submit a question, or if you'd like me to work with you, take you through the process in this forum, check the link for in the description of this video for the details on that. So first up today, we have Raquel. Hello, Raquel. Welcome.
Hi, Odille. Thank you.
So you sent me your question. Shall I just read your question and then we can go through it? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So Raquel says, I've been working on the memories we changed in the session we had together. I've noticed a great deal of anxiety relief after our session together. Practicing the new memories over and over again seemed to really help. Some anxiety still lingers around, and I do feel a sense of sadness when I think of it. When I think of all the time in the past before this anxiety hit me. Excuse me. It almost feels like I've been plagued with this issue. And when I think back to before this happened, I desperately want to go back to that more peaceful and happier time in my life. I look at old photos and think, if I can only go back to this time when I was free, happy, secure, and my brain wasn't doing this to me. When I do experience some health anxiety or health symptoms, the feeling of I'm not normal or I'm defective come up. I feel it stems from being criticized a lot by my mom as a child. Would I need to go to all the memories of being criticized and change each one? I don't have specific childhood memories of being criticized. I only have specific memories of being criticized as an adult. I appreciate any specific exercises you can give me on this. So Raquel, is that kind of everything that you wanted to share for today?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. So first of all, well done for being here, and well done for reaching out for help with this. So let's take the two different pieces. So I want to address the regret first, or the feelings of I wish I could go back in time. And I'm very familiar with that feeling myself. I've had that a lot in my life, and especially when I started making the changes that I'm making now. I felt like I wish I could have experienced all of this back then. One of the things that is important, so the first piece there's two pieces. First, addressing the conscious mind, the logic of it, to get the conscious mind on board, and then we'll go for the childhood memories and references and change those. So getting the conscious mind on board first using logic. One of the ways of doing that is remembering that we go through kind of stages of our lives, and it's a progress. So it's not like you have this and then you lose it and then you're stuck with whatever the next thing is. We are able to create different things, experience different things moving forward. So the good stuff we had in the past isn't the only good stuff there is, but the brain is creating that perception. So it's like, if you think about, like, if you go to a concert or something of a music artist or band that you enjoy, you go there, it's so much fun, but you don't expect to stay there forever, and that's all you'll ever experience. You go, well, that was fun, next. And that's the way to see life. That was fabulous, had such fun with that, or that was so wonderful. What's next? And what good things can come in the future? So the fact that you were so happy and everything was fine before doesn't mean that that was the only option. So you either have to go back in time to that, or you never get to experience happiness. Does that make sense so far?
Right, yeah.
Very good. So let's look at when you said, if I could only go back in time to that time when I was free and happy and secure, and my brain wasn't doing this to me. At what point, when did it start, or when did you notice that your brain was doing something different?
I feel like maybe maybe 2-3 years ago.
Okay, so about 2 or 3 years ago, and what happened at around that time?
Well, the pandemic for sure happened. And then I just started getting symptoms, bodies, health symptoms.
Okay, very good. So there was the pandemic, and what else was happening in your life at that time, which may not seem related, but any changes apart from the pandemic? Anything else going on?
My youngest son did break out in a bad eczema rash, and we found out later that it was mold in our house that was causing it. So we had to do a massive, pretty much like a renovation of our home while dealing with my son being so uncomfortable and oozing all over his body with like all the ashes, the rashes and stuff.
Right. Okay. So that sounds very traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, and that was about the same time?
I would say.
Okay. And so your son got ill, and then you discovered that there was this mold thing. And how was your experience of all of that at that time? Obviously, it's stressful, it's not pleasant in that, but any particular meaning that you gave to it, or that you saw in it, any particular emotions around that time?
I would say fear, stress, emotion, maybe like anger, hopelessness, things like that.
Okay, very good. Well done. And so let's take the fear first of all. What was the fear about? What were you fearful of?
If he would ever heal from it. And because we have a history with my husband where I also cared for him when he had eczema breakouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so you're worried about if he would ever heal from it. And as you think about that time now, so you had the fear, the anger, the hopelessness, all of that. You've got that now. Can you remember that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Good job. And now, what's the first thing that pops into your mind from childhood? And it may not appear to make any sense. It may be completely random.
Fear, hopelessness, anger. I feel like my mom lashing out.
Yes. Okay. Very good. And so when your mum would lash out, what was that experience like for you when you were a child? What feelings were there?
Fear, anger, maybe like some resentment and hopelessness, like she'll never change.
Very good. Very good. That makes perfect sense. And do you have a sort of one specific memory of your mum doing that that can represent all of them?
I do. It's in adulthood though.
Okay. And so do you have any memories from childhood of her doing that? And if not, that's okay. We just want to make sure there aren't any earlier ones there.
I don't know if they're memories, but I can imagine that she is yelling and screaming at the younger me.
Good. That's what we want. Yeah. And so for everybody else as well, we always want to go for childhood where possible. And if you don't have anything that comes to mind from childhood, that's okay. You can just go with the earliest one that you can remember, and then your brain will update earlier ones automatically, and you may not even remember them, or you may suddenly have a childhood memory come to mind, and then you can address that. But we always want to go for the childhood ones as far as possible, the earliest ones possible, because those are the roots that everything else, including adulthood, is built on. So let's take that one that you've got, or that imagining that you have, that you can imagine what it was like. So so we've got that on one side. So now on the other hand, Remind me of your favorite color.
Like a glittery gold.
Oh, that's right. Very nice. Okay, so we've got the gold, and then have you got a subject?
Yes.
Very good. So for those who are new, that'll be a person, animal, place, or activity that you love with no negative attachments. All right. So, and then before we go into that, I also want to ask you, do you have a memory from your childhood that is wonderful? Preferably with your mum if you have one. If you don't, that's okay. Just a memory that where you can feel that freedom and that happiness.
Um, I I don't have one with my mom.
Okay. Do you have one with even without your mum?
I mean, would you say that the new ones that I've been practicing would be one or no? Are you talking more like,
Yep, we can use one of those.
okay,
Something that represents that freedom and happiness that you want to feel now.
okay. So, one that I've been rewriting and practicing is her, like spinning me around and, telling me how that glow, that light in my body is what keeps me extremely healthy and nothing, no illness, no disease can penetrate through.
Good job. All right. So we'll use that as well. Okay. So let's start. So I want to take a deep breath. Close your. Oh, in fact, I'm so sorry, but before we do, just give me an age for that memory. That sort of memory of your mum lashing out.
Um, Maybe like 5.
5 years old. Very good. Okay. So now take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And I want you to start by thinking of that beautiful gold color, that beautiful glittery gold surrounding you. So you're surrounded by that gorgeous color. You got that?
Mhm.
Very good. And you can feel the feeling of that beautiful glittery gold color. Good job. And now I want you to think of your subject, that person, animal, place, or activity that you love, and imagine holding them in your arms in a hug. You got that? Good job. Very good, Raquel. And now I want you to focus in on the feeling of love in your chest or solar plexus. Good job. And then imagine that feeling as a ball of light or aura energy. And imagine it spreading down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. Good job. All right. So now press pause on that for a moment. And just very briefly, I want you to go to that memory or that representation of your mum lashing out at you at 5 years old. You got that?
Mhm.
Good. And about how strong are the negative emotions? 0 to 10. So 0, I can't feel anything. 10, it's very strong.
Probably like 4, 5.
4 or 5. Very good. And now press pause on that. And let's go back to the glittery gold and hugging your subject. And you and your subject are surrounded by that gorgeous gold color, and you can feel the feeling of it. You got that? Very good. Good job. And now press pause on that. And let's go back to that memory when you were 5 years old, your mum lashing out, and the negative feelings were about a 4 or 5. Where are they now?
I'd say maybe a 3, a 2.
Very good. So press pause on that. Let's go back to your gold color and your subject. And I want you to think of all the things you love about your subject. And if it's a person or an animal, think of any if they've ever done anything funny. You got that? Good job. Press pause on that. Let's go back to the 5-year-old memory of your mum lashing out. And the negative emotions were a 2 or a 3. Where are they now?
Mm, like a 0.
Good, very good. All right. So now we want to change that memory. So I want you to start by imagining what it would be. In fact, let's do this. I want you to imagine being surrounded, that little you is surrounded by a bubble, a protective bubble. And that protective bubble is also bouncy. So as your mum lashes out at you, it can't get through the bubble, it bounces back to her. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And can you imagine the surprised look on her face?
Yeah.
Good. And if you can add some humor, so much the better. The more humor one can add, the better, the more effective.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So she's surprised. And what happens in that moment is as that lashing out, whatever form that took, bounced back to her, she got to experience what that little you would experience. And she is completely taken aback because she had no idea it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now she feels the effects of how she was treating you. And she's horrified. And you can see the realization in her face. And what does she do?
She apologizes.
Good, very good. And how does that little you feel when her mum apologizes to her?
She feels she feels good. But she also feels like, is this gonna last?
Very good. Good job, sweetheart. Okay. And so now we want to ask that little you, what would give her the surety, the security, and the knowing that it would definitely last? What would reassure her that it's going to last? What needs to happen? And it can be anything at all. So you can use magic, it doesn't matter. But what does she need to make sure that this lasts?
Maybe that her mom um maybe that her mom is getting the support regularly that she needs.
Very good. Good job. And also, what about if her mum was a different type of person?
Mm-hmm.
If your mum had grown up differently, had been treated with love and kindness and compassion, had everything she needed, and imagine the kind of woman she would have grown into: calm, peaceful, compassionate, confident, kind, relaxed, healthy, all of those things. And then imagine the kind of mother that kind of woman would have made. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So now I want you to see if to give that little you a magic wand, and she magics her mother. She puts magic spell on her mother that changes her mother's background, past, childhood, everything. And you can see the sparkles as the magic is working.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine that? Very good. And so can you see a change in your mother's face now?
Yeah.
Good. So you can see that new person, that different person.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And now how does that little you feel?
Relieved and hopeful.
Good. Very good. And does that little you now feel it's safe to allow your mum into the bubble?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Very good. So allow her in, and what happens?
She hugs me, like she kneels down and she hugs me and apologizes.
Good job. And how does that feel for the little you?
It feels nice.
Good. Very good. And does that little you now feel safe with her mother?
Mm-hmm.
Does she believe her?
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, she's a little confused, but like she's going with it.
Good, very good. And make sure that that little you knows that she always has that magic wand and she always has the bubble, that protective bubble. So she can at any time protect herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she's always safe. So there's that. Now let's go to your mum. I want you to think about when you were born, when you were first born, how did your mother feel?
In reality,
In reality, well, let's see, whatever comes. So if you've got new memories, if those are the first ones that come, that's great. If it's the old memories that come, then whatever that is. So whatever comes.
She felt happy.
Good. She felt happy and very good. And how, so I want you to imagine you've been born, she's holding you. And what is that scene? What's the feeling in that scene?
Feelings of love and happiness.
Good, very good. And then moving forward, how how physically affectionate was your mum?
Uh,
Again, the first memories that come to mind. So whether those are new or old.
she, I believe she was physically affectionate.
Good. And does that little you feel safe?
Interestingly, no.
Good. Interesting. Yes, very good. And so what is it that makes that little you not feel safe?
I think it's just the experiences of her. Just she was a very high stressful woman and very up and down, screaming all the time.
Okay, very good. So let's change that. So I want you to imagine if instead of being stressed and up and down and screaming all the time, she would be very excitable. So she would get excited about stuff and enthusiastic about stuff. So you've still got that high energy every now and then, but it's a positive energy. So instead of screaming, she would laugh and sing. And so it was a joyful thing. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And you would join in. So she would laugh and you would laugh, and the two of you would laugh till the tears roll down your cheeks. Got that? Good job. And you would sing together. So we want to take all of the memories, all the references of her screaming and turn it into singing and laughing. Can you imagine that?
So as I'm doing that, excuse me, I'm seeing her original face of like when she would yell, when she would scream, she was always angry.
Okay. And so let's look at that face. So the anger on her face, and see if you can use the magic wand to change her face to happy instead. Laughing.
Mm-hmm.
You got that? Good. Very good. And another thing we can do here is, do you know anybody who is very joyful and enthusiastic and happy and that you feel safe with? And it doesn't even need to be a real person. It could be or anybody you know. It could be a celebrity, or it could even be a fictional character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good. And someone who's calm and has qualities that you would have liked your mother to have.
Mm-hmm.
Got someone? Very good. I want you to imagine your mother's standing in front of you. And then I want you to put that other person, the ideal person, in front of your mother. So your mother is behind that person. You got that? Very good. And now I want you to imagine your mother coming through that person. So, and as she comes through that person, she automatically takes on all the qualities of them. She learns how to be like that. And as she comes through them and you start to see her coming through, can you see the expression on her face?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that expression?
She's like relaxed and just calm.
Very good. Good job. And can you now imagine what it would have been like to grow up with that version of your mother?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Very good. And how does that feel?
It feels good. It feels supportive and loved.
Good. Very good. All right. So now let's, so you can open your eyes. And how do you feel right now?
Good.
Good. All right. So now I want you to think back to that time when you were happy and free, and then how you felt about wishing you could go back there. And how do you feel now? Do you still feel the same? Do you feel different?
I feel I don't think it's as strong. And I feel like it's I will get back there.
Good, good. Okay, so now what I want you to do moving forward is whenever that thought occurs to you, whenever those thoughts or feelings of, I wish I could go back there before this happened, as that comes up, I want you to play that new memory with your mum. So
Mm-hmm.
that new version of your mum, see her face smiling, let her, have her hug you. And so what you're doing there is redirecting your brain to the new reference, the new proof that you are safe and you are happy and you are free.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that feeling of freedom and happiness is based on feeling safe. It's feeling unsafe that has taken that away, right? And the feeling of being safe is coming from your childhood, or the feeling of being unsafe is coming from your childhood. So we need to create that strong foundation of being safe in your childhood, because that's what we then bring with us into adulthood. We bring it with us. We can't get it from outside of ourselves, but we have to get it from our parents in the first place.
Okay. Okay.
So that's that. So now let's move on to so also to practice that new version of your mother, keep going over and over so that you establish that in your brain. And so now let's go to the feelings, the being criticized by your mum. So when you think about the criticism, like you said, you didn't have memories from childhood, it's more from adulthood. When you think about being criticized in childhood, is there nothing there at all?
When I was trying to think back, I could not think of any. I don't have a lot of childhood memories.
Okay. And that lashing out that we've just addressed now, was that part of the criticism references, or was that something different?
I feel like that was just something she just always was angry. So just
Okay,
something
so that's
different.
not the criticism. Okay. So now let's go to what is the earliest that you can remember of your mum criticizing you, even if it's in adulthood?
Um, Maybe sometime in my teenage years. I love to sew, I love to bake, and she would say, "Oh, it's so nice, but this should be better. That should be
Ah,
better."
very good. All right. And so just for everybody, just a clarification for everybody, teenage years, we include that in childhood. So teenage years count because that's still part of where we are breaking away, but we are still impacted by our parents. It's still part of the foundation. So obviously the earlier ones are the stronger one, or the more effective ones, but teenage years count as well. So that's really good. So let's go to one of those. And so you've done something. Can you pick one that is the strongest or that can represent all of the others?
I would say, I would say the one that comes to mind is I was more so in adulthood, probably 20s, and she criticized something that I sewed and that I baked.
Okay, very good. And so let's go with that then. So you've got, she criticized something you sewed and you baked. So let's go back to that memory. And can you remember the feelings there? Good. And as you are in that memory and you remember those feelings, does anything come to mind from earlier, even if it's not related? And even if it's not necessarily about being criticized, anything at all? And even if it's with your mother. Sorry.
What comes up is nothing will make you ever satisfied. And when I think back to childhood, I just know that I feel like that's how my dad felt with her, because she was always fighting with him and criticizing him.
Very good. All right. So let's go to you're in a scene with your mother. Your mother's there, your dad's there. They're fighting. She's criticizing him. And that little you is feeling you'll never be satisfied. So there's the hopeless feeling there again. And give that little you magic wand and freeze that whole scene. So everybody's frozen, everything's except for you, everything's frozen. You got that? Good job. All right. So now I want you to have a look at your mum, and I want you to notice that there's like something dark inside her, like a dark patch, and it could be in her heart or in her brain or something like that. It's a darkness that is like a curse that she's had from childhood. And this is what's caused her to be the way she is. And as you look into that darkness, you can see the little her. You can see a child in the center of that darkness, and that child is frightened. Can you imagine that? Very good. So that's the little her surrounded by darkness inside the adult her. Now, the little you has a magic wand, and I want you to imagine magicking her. So as you wave your magic wand, you see a bright white light goes out of the magic wand and into that darkness and transforms it to light. And the little her is relieved and grateful because she's now safe. She's no longer in the darkness anymore. And now as you unfreeze her, you unfreeze the scene, it's like she's waking up from a trance. So there was a curse on her. That little you had the power to lift that curse, and now she's free. Can you imagine that? Can you see the relief in her face? And can you imagine how grateful she is to you for freeing her? Good job. Very good. And how does that feel?
It feels good.
Good. And now, how is she with your dad? What does she do? What do your parents do as you're watching them?
She says that she's so sorry, and that she didn't realize how she's been acting, and she's going to be better going forward.
Very good. And how does your dad respond?
He's really shocked.
Good. Very good. And can you imagine them hugging? Good. And then they turn to you and they open their arms and they draw you in as well, so that they're hugging you. Good job, sweetheart. And how does that feel?
It feels good.
Very good. Good job. All right. And so now let's go to another scene where that little you has done something. So you've created something, you've made something, you've written something, you've done something, whatever it is, and you're showing your mum, and how does she react?
She is bright-eyed and happy and proud and praising me.
There you go. Very good. So I want you to repeat that moment in time over and over and over. So creating these memories it's okay, but it's not enough, because it's like reading something once. Your brain's not going to remember it unless you repeat it. And this is the same. So when we create these new memories, as you create a new memory, you need to repeat it over and over, like you would learn a new fact or a new phone number, until your brain has established the neural network for it. And of course, add in the good feelings. So as you play the memory, make sure you're focusing in on how it feels in real time and amp up those feelings. So put in any details, change anything you need to change in order to make those feelings stronger, so that your brain is then prioritizing that memory for long-term storage.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Very, very good. And so you'll practice that over and over. And then now let's go to the one where you're in your 20s and you sewed something and you baked something. And how is that now? Can you imagine those memories differently?
Mm-hmm. I can imagine her just loving it and giving me a lot of praise, and that's it.
Very good. Good job, Raquel. So how do you feel now?
I feel good. I feel supported.
Good. Very good, sweetheart. And now let's just check in with the physical symptoms. So as you think of whatever physical symptoms might be there, what comes to mind?
What usually comes to mind is, what's wrong with me? Am I okay? Am I okay? And so when I think to my symptoms, that still pops up, and I feel like it's because I've been practicing that
Yep.
all the time.
That's right. Yes. So now what I want you to do is answer that with the proof, which is your mother praising you, loving you, and you can see the expression on her face. You can hear her tone of voice. So that provides your brain with the answer to, am I normal? Am I safe? Is there something wrong with me? You now have proof in your childhood that you are safe. There's nothing wrong with you. You are wonderful and you are treasured.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I had just one question. So if I'm playing these memories of my mom and, she's loving and supportive and all that stuff, I have close contact with her on a daily basis, and she isn't that way in real life. So how does that not undo all this work that I'm doing when I have day-to-day situations with her where she's stressful, she's, negative, whatever? Like, how would you suggest I go on with that?
Very good question. Thank you, Raquel. And I know others have this question as well. And the answer to that is the separation between the unconscious part of the brain and the conscious mind. And what you want to do is pretend that there's something wrong with her now. So pretend that her real self was the way you grew up with her. Your memory, your new childhood memories is actually who she really was. And now she's not well in the head, or she's taken something, she's smoked some dope or whatever, that something in other words, what you're experiencing now is not the real her. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's one option. The other option you can do that I used with my mum is that she's a character in a sitcom. She's playing a character. And so, if you think of a sitcom like Friends, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be funny if Monica wasn't so anal, right? Or Ross or whatever, So this is a character, which means you can maintain that love and that connection and that reassurance and safety, knowing it's not actually her. And even as you're experiencing her the way she is now, keep playing those memories, so that you're directing your brain to those new childhood memories and reassuring the child in you. So you can, a real memory of mine's just popped into my head. So my mum was an actress and a clown and that kind of thing, circus family and so on. And I have a memory of my mum coming in drag. She was dressed as a male clown, and somebody was holding me. Probably my grandmother or something. And my mother walked in, and I screamed. I was terrified of her. And they were going, "No, it's okay." And my mum was saying, "It's okay. It's just me. It's just me." And I was terrified. So think of it that way. The little you is now looking at this mother who is just playing a role. It's a costume. She's just playing a role. And this child is frightened. And so you reassure, "It's okay, sweetie. That's not really her. It's just a pretend. She's just pretending for a game or for a role or something." And it's going to be the feeling of reassurance, and it's okay, and playing the new childhood memories that's going to get through to the unconscious part of your brain, not the logic of it. So the logic of it is for your conscious mind, and to allow your conscious mind to reassure the little you. Does that make sense?
And so I'm assuming that as I'm working through all these childhood memories, being around her as an adult will no longer trigger.
Correct.
Okay.
That's it. And so, because what's happening is, as you're experiencing her now, no matter what, even if she's suddenly turned into this amazing, compassionate person, your brain would still be referring to the childhood memories of her.
Right.
So that wouldn't help.
Right.
So, I mean, it would help on a conscious level, but it wouldn't make a difference to the inside of you. Or to the unconscious part of you. So as you're experiencing her now, regardless of how she is now, the unconscious part of your brain is referring to your childhood memories, whichever ones happen to be there, whether the old ones or the new ones.
Okay.
So, but again, it takes repetition to begin with, to establish it. So in the beginning, you'll need to make an effort to, as you experience her now, play the new childhood memories. It's okay. Look, this is the real thing.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Raquel. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Good job. All right. And next up we have Prachi. Hi, Prachi. I've unmuted you. There you are.
Hello.
There you go. Hey, Prachi, how you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. You're a little soft. I don't know if have you got your mic. Hello?
Yeah, okay. Now?
Yeah, it's a little muffled, so I can't hear you very well. Have you got a mic close to your mouth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can I help you today?
Yeah, actually, I tried reaching out to you before, through the text and all, and you did help me, but actually my issue is since school, since LKG and first grade, I had problem with making friends. So and now I'm in college, and that's the same issue I'm facing here.
Sorry, can you repeat that last bit again? I didn't quite get that.
I'm in college now, and that's the same issue I'm facing now.
Oh, yes. Okay, very good. So about making friends. So let's have a look at this. So when you think about having friends, what thoughts and feelings come to you first?
Being happy and not being alone.
Good, very good. And when you think about making friends, what comes up for you?
Sorry, what?
When you think about now, the idea of making friends and what that entails, what's there for you? What do you think? What thoughts or feelings come to mind?
I feel like they don't want to talk to me, and maybe I'm disturbing them, or just they hate me, something like that.
Okay, so you feel that, and how do you know they don't want to talk to you?
It's just I feel like that.
You just feel it, you say?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And do you have experiences of that where you've tried to talk to some people?
Yeah, actually, I did try to talk to people, means now that I'm at the college, but some of them did talk to me, and some they just made some weird faces, and yeah.
Okay. All right. So now when you think of that feeling of having friends, so like you say, you feel happy and it feels nice to have friends. When you think of that and you think of your childhood, what's in your childhood that is different to that happy, connected feeling of having friends?
Hmm, I can't think about anything.
Okay. All right. So let's go to when you think, let's take each parent separately. When you think of your mother in your childhood, what are the feelings that come to mind first? Feelings or thoughts?
Mm, like she was not very affectionate,
Hmm? Okay.
and yeah.
Okay. So that's one piece there. And then what about your father?
Um, Actually, he is a bit of means short tempered.
Short-tempered,
So,
yes.
so I used to feel scared.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, I
That,
didn't even talk to him means till fourth, like only for just when I needed, not
mhm.
very openly or friendly.
Okay, yeah. So there's quite a lot there. So I'm going to put that on one side for the moment with your parents. And now I just want to check something. When you walk into a room and there's people, so there may be people you know or people you don't know, how are you feeling when you walk into a room with other people?
um, a little bit anxious if there are people that I don't know, and if there are people that I know and whom I talk to, then I feel relieved.
Okay, very good. All right. And when you say about making friends, do you have no friends at all, or you don't have as many friends as you would like?
No, actually, I do have friends, but currently where I'm studying at college, that's the issue there.
Say that again. You're studying at college,
Yeah,
and they're
the
not there.
yeah,
Okay. So you're talking about like you do have friends, but not where you are at college, and you'd like to have friends there.
yeah, right.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go to your your parents. Let's take one at a time again. So your mum. Have you changed memories of your mum yet to make her affectionate?
Uh, no, actually, I didn't try that. Means I was focusing on my dad.
Okay, all right. So I want you to create new memories of your mum where she is very kind, very affectionate, very fun. So she laughs easily. And one of the things you can do, and I'm going to put a link in the description of this video, um, and I will email it to you as well, Prachi, is
Okay.
the generational childhood memory transformation meditation.
Yeah, I did try
So,
that.
oh, you've done that, yes. So you've changed your mum's childhood.
Yeah, but it
Okay,
didn't feel real. It didn't
it didn't
feel
feel
real.
real. All right. So what you want to do is, as you listen to it, um, and it doesn't feel real, notice how you know it doesn't feel real. So what about it? What about it doesn't feel real, or what real memories come up that prove it's not real? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
And then change those. And then with your father, so I'll come back to your mother in a minute, but your father, um, so you say you've changed some memories of him. So when you think of him now in your childhood, is there any fear left?
Actually, I did try to change them, but means it didn't feel real that time also. So I tried that one method you mentioned in your book about the letter writing.
About the what? Oh, the letter. Yes, yes, the due justice.
Yeah, I tried
Did-
that, and
yeah.
I think I need to try that once more.
Yes. And how did that go when you tried it? Were you able to get something?
Yeah, a little bit, but not very impactful.
Ah, yes, yes. So yeah, try that again, because there may be some kind of protection or hesitation there, and doing it again will give that part of you permission to
Yes.
express
Okay.
it and release it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now let's go to, I want you to see if you can imagine the scene. So there's little you, any age, and you've got your parents in front of you, and you're all sitting around a dining room table of some kind. Can you imagine that?
Yes.
Good. And I want you to imagine that that little you is talking, and you're just telling your parents something, and you don't need to know what you're saying. You just got the feeling of you're telling them something. And I want you to see if you can imagine both your parents completely engaged. So they're making eye contact with you, they're nodding, they're smiling, and they're really interested in what you're saying. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Good, very
Yes.
good. And how does that feel for the little you?
Safe.
Safe, very good. And then can you imagine each of them giving you a hug?
Mm, Yeah. Actually, no.
Okay, good. What happens when you try?
Um, there's a block, kind of block.
Yeah,
Means
okay. With both of them or just one?
with my dad.
Your dad, yes. And so we're not going to do the hug now with your dad, but let me ask you this. What would happen if your dad would hug you?
Mm,
What would that be like?
Yeah, it would feel good.
It would feel good? Very good.
Yes.
So I want you to imagine now that that block that you feel is a thing. So there's something between you and your dad, and it could be a piece of furniture, or it could be a screen, or it could be energy, it could be anything you like. You got something?
Mhm.
Good.
Yes.
And now that little you has a magic wand again. And would it feel comfortable for that little you to make that block disappear?
Yes.
Good. So she feels safe to do that?
Yeah.
Good. And then can you imagine your dad hugging you now that that block is gone?
Mm, Yes.
Good. Very good. And how does that feel?
Yeah. It feels good.
Good. And does that little you feel safe with your dad?
Yes.
Good job. Very good. So you've got the two parents, and now they're very engaged, and they're hugging you, and all of that feels safe and feels secure.
Yes.
Good job, sweetheart. Excellent. And so now let's say tomorrow you're going to go and speak to some people, and you're going to, get into a conversation with some new people. How would that feel?
Mm, Like they would ignore me.
Uh-huh. And what happens? So let's say they ignore you, what does that mean to you?
I feel left alone, left out.
Left out. Okay. Good job, sweetheart. Now, that feeling of being left out, you got that?
Yeah.
Good. Now, when you think of your childhood, what's the first thing that pops into your mind as you think of that feeling of being left out? And it may not make sense. It may seem random.
Mm, no, nothing.
Nothing comes to mind at all?
No.
Okay. So you never had that feeling of being left out when you were a child?
Maybe I did, but I guess I
Can't think
can't
of it
remember
now.
anything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. So let's do this. I want you to imagine the little you in front of you. Now, can you imagine yourself as a child in front of you?
Yes.
And what's the expression on that little Prachi's face?
Mm, just plain. Nothing.
Plain. Okay. And I want you to imagine that there's a group of children the same age as her in the room as well. And she's going to go and talk to those children. How does that feel?
Yeah, okay.
It feels okay to do that?
No.
Okay. All right. So what feels not okay for her to do that?
It's just holding back, I guess.
Holding back, yes. And what would they do? Let's say she did feel fine to go and speak to them. What would happen?
Yeah, they would talk to her.
Okay, good. So they wouldn't ignore her.
Yeah, no.
Good. Okay, so now let's come back to tomorrow. You're going to go and speak to some people. What makes you think they're going to ignore you?
I just don't know. It feels like that.
Mm-hmm. And has this happened before?
Yeah.
Okay. And with same people?
Not same people, but some of them were same and some were different.
Okay. And so because what I'm wanting to do is get to the reference of how you know that when you go and speak to people, they're going to ignore you. You see what I mean? Because some people may ignore us, but then others don't.
Yeah.
Right. And so when that's happened before, so you've gone to speak to people and they've ignored you, how has that felt to you? Oh, so like you said, you feel left out, but what does it mean about them or about you or about the situation?
Like I'm not good enough.
Ah, very good. Okay, good jobs, Prachi. So you've got that, your brain interprets it as you're not good enough. Now, of course, the other explanation could be that they're not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? That there's something wrong with them.
Yes.
Right? So it could be they're not well, or they're rude, or they've got issues of their own.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's where we want to get to, where you know you're good enough. So you know that if somebody behaves weirdly to you or they ignore you, whatever, it must be their issue because there's nothing wrong with you.
Yes. Okay.
Good. And so how would it feel if you knew that? If you knew that it's not you, it must be them, how would you be feeling if that happened?
I would I would forgive them for ignoring me.
Yeah. And then what would you do moving forward?
I try to talk to new people.
Good. That's exactly what we want. Yes. Very good. And how would that feel if you were able to do that?
Yeah, it would feel good.
Yes. Good. So this is what we're aiming for. We want to create the childhood memories with your parents, with both parents, that prove that you are perfect and that everybody wants to be with you. And if there are some that don't, it means that there's something wrong with them. It's not about you, and it's kind of, it's okay, next, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yes.
Good job, sweetheart. And so now, and the way to create those memories is, what we're aiming for is that your that little you has experiences with your parents, with both parents, of physical affection. So they're very cuddly, and she feels safe with that. They admire you. They always listen to you. The other thing you want to do is create memories of your parents in a room. You can do them separately and together, or either or.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they're busy with something, they're on the phone, or they're talking, or they're doing something, and you walk in and they drop what they're doing, they stop what they're doing, and they immediately focus, and their faces light up as you enter the room. Wow. They hug you, and they're always so happy to see you.
Yes.
right? And as you establish those new memories by repetition, your brain will start to take that as proof that you are perfect as you are. So there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with you, and anybody else who's behaving in a weird way, that's them. It's nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Okay.
How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. And actually, one more question. Do I need to change the memories from childhood or create new ones?
You can do both. So if you haven't already, there's a list of bookmark memories. Have you come across the bookmark memories yet?
Yes.
Good. So you can start with those. So there's 6 bookmark memories, and you can create those. And the thing to do with that is, as you create either the bookmark memories and the scenes that we've talked about now, if original memories come up that contradict those new memories, then change those. So, for example,
Yes.
let's say you're doing the bookmark memory where you're in bed, it's bedtime, and your parents are reading to you that memory, and then a thought comes up, oh, but that's not real because my dad wasn't there at bedtime, or I can't imagine my mother reading to me. Or you can remember actual memories that contradict it, like, oh, bedtime was always stressful, or I was always on my own. Then change
Yes.
those so that they fit in with the bookmark memories.
Yeah. Okay.
Sound
Yes.
good? And I want you
Yes.
to do one more thing. Actually, 2 more
Yes.
things. All right. Number 1, practice the little exercise, the little brain chemistry exercise. And again, for others, I'll
Yeah.
put the link in the description. And I want you to imagine hugging that little you, and do that a lot. So
Yes.
whenever you think of it, as many times as you can, and before you go into a room with people. So
Yes.
before
Okay.
you walk into a room of people, imagine hugging that little you and get those feel-good chemicals going before you walk in.
Yes.
All right. And continue to do that. You know, if you're like you go and speak to people, or you're in a room, you're just there, constantly be reassuring and hugging that little you, because it's that part of you that has that feeling of I'm not good enough. So there's that. And the
Yes.
second thing is to pre-pave. And by that, I mean, get into that feel-good state, and then
Yes.
imagine yourself being filled with that light, that energy, that love. And then imagine where you're going. So let's say you're going into a classroom or a lecture
Yes.
hall. Imagine filling that whole lecture hall with that light, that energy, that love, and all the people in it, including you in that. So you imagine yourself in that lecture hall. Imagine that version of you. In fact, do it that way around. Imagine that version of you being filled with that light, that energy, so much that it radiates out and fills the whole rest of the room, the whole lecture hall, and all the people in it are full of that light, that
Yes.
energy, no matter what happens. So
Okay. Yes.
pre-pave that before you go somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's getting you into that empowered state, and it's making sure that your brain is connecting those feel-good chemicals with being in a room with people.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Make
Thank
sense?
you.
You're
Yeah.
very welcome, Prachi. Good job, sweetheart. And thank you for bringing here. Of course, you can come back at any time. You know, let me know if you
Yeah.
need more. All right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. And then I have an anonymous question for today that I'm going to answer now. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So somebody asked this question. Something regarding lack of money and struggling with it came up with the memory of my father saying to me, nothing will come of you. You will never amount to anything. Will never have any money. The money thing resonated. You will never have any money. How to sort this powerful negative comment, which has been there all my life? Can you suggest any stepping stones and a final memory? So yes, of course. So here's what I suggest. So for the first stepping stone memory, and for anybody who's not sure about stepping stone memories, I'll put a link in the description. So for the first stepping stone memory, imagine yourself as a child and your father in front of you. And now give that little you a magic wand and also put a protective bubble around that little you. And that protective bubble is bouncy and repellent. So now, as your father makes that comment, you see the words, and instead of reaching the little you, they bounce off the bubble and back to your father. And imagine the surprise on his face and make it funny. So the more humor you can use, the more effective this will be. So imagine if that really happened, what a shock he would get. All right. And then maybe he tries again, and again, the words bounce back to him. And then that little you use your magic wand to freeze him, and you say to him, what you're saying there is about yourself. It's not about me. And everything that comes out of your mouth is your opinion of yourself, not about me. So it bounces back to you. And then you say, when you say something that is actually about me, you'll know because it will be able to get through this bubble. Only things that are true can get through this bubble. And then you unfreeze him and he tests it. He says something that you would like to have heard from him. So how much he loves you, how grateful he is for you, how much potential he sees in you, how proud he is of you. And as those loving comments come toward you, you wave your magic wand and you allow them through the bubble. And as they come through the bubble and reach you, you can feel the love, the light, and the warmth of them. So practice that until it feels established. Then the second stepping stone memory can be the little you, and little you's there and your father's there. And again, you have the magic wand. And as your father says that comment, you use the magic wand to freeze him. And as you look at him, you can see this dark patch in his heart, which is like curse from his own childhood. And you can see that it's that dark patch that has been coming out of his mouth as those comments. And it has nothing to do with you. He's under a curse. And so you wave your magic wand. And as you do that, this bright light comes out of the magic wand and goes into his heart, transforming the darkness to light and lifting the curse. And he's amazed. Like he's waking up. He's so relieved that he's no longer under the curse. And he thanks you and hugs you tightly. Thank you so much for freeing me. You are amazing. And I'm so lucky to be your dad. All right. So that's the second stepping stone memory. Practice that until it feels established. And then the final memory is that you're in a room, you're playing or you're reading or you're doing whatever activity that little you would enjoy doing. And your father walks into the room with something that little you would absolutely love. So it could be a pet or a toy or tickets for a holiday or an outing together, something that would be so exciting for that little you. And as you look up and you see him walk in with whatever it is, you can see the excitement and love beaming on your dad's face as he looks at you. And as he gives you the gift, he says something like, I just wanted to give you something special because you are the light of my life. And I'm so grateful for you and so proud of you for just for being you. You're the kindest, most talented, most fun person I know, and I am the luckiest dad in the world. And that's your final memory. So keep playing that until it's established, and then keep referring your brain to that as you go about your day. So I hope that helps, but let me know if you need more suggestions on that.